recently, right? I've been watching Code Geass, and we've been talking a little bit about it. I haven't really given you much about it, but so I've been watching Code Geass, right? This is my first time watching it. I haven't watched it before, but as I'm watching it and I'm going through it, Lelouch v Britannia, like I'm like, this guy reminds me of somebody. Who does he remind me of? And I'm sure you guys all felt it when you watch it. I know they came out similar years, so it just depends which one you watch first. Maybe you know, maybe somebody reminds you of Lelouch. For my regard, Lelouch reminds me of like Yagami, right? They're
Mhm.
they're both like devious, dastardly, supremely intelligent, right? They have
Mhm.
hacks in their verse, right? They have
Mhm.
hacks, but as I'm kind of sitting back, I'm like, they remind me of each other, but to me, one character stands out more and seems better. Now, for me, that character is Light Yagami. So I want to ask you, do you agree?
Mhm. I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Lelouch. I think Lelouch
Okay.
is probably the better character, in terms
Okay.
of how he's written. So I might have to go. I might have to disagree with that one.
Okay. So, and it's been years since I watched Death Note, right? So excuse me if I'm rusty, but what I like about Light is even though Light was wrong, Light felt like he was right in his head. So I like the courage of conviction. Like, yo, I'm really going with this and I'm really
Mhm.
standing on this, right? Like, I
Right.
believe internally what I'm doing is making the world better, right? It's
Mhm.
like that. I feel like it's the Itachi and Eren argument, right? I
Right.
feel like Light is kind of like the Itachi, like, listen, I'm gonna do this for the better of the world. Where I feel like Lelouch is like, I'm gonna do this for the better of me. I'm just trying to get it back in blood, honestly. Like I don't really care about all of that because, and it's not
Mhm.
shown, and we have to believe that the royal family, if that's what they're referred to as, the Britannias, we
Mhm.
have to like assume they're bad. They don't all seem very bad, right? And keep in
Mhm.
mind, guys, I'm like halfway through season two, right?
Right.
They're definitely kind of bad, but not all of them seem that bad. You know what I'm saying? So, but there seems to be like some segregation going on. Obviously, some bad things are happening, right? But what I don't know is some way, somehow, did that make the world better? I don't know if that stabilized the economy. I don't know the effects what they did had on the world. You know what I'm saying? So
Got
him just like, yo, listen, I'm gonna just disband them and get it back in blood. I don't know how it impacts the rest of the world. You know what I
right.
mean? So
Right.
like, all right, his rampage, Yuffie, right? Yuffie was trying to do something good for the world and it
Mhm.
really got to his ego because it was challenging him being zero, right? And it was just like,
Right.
yo, like you're ruining my plan. Guess what? Now I'm gonna just send you on a rampageous massacre. And I was
Right.
like, yo, that's kind of wild, bro. Like you kind of selfish, man. So, like I said, even though Light is wrong, he feels like he's doing the right thing. Like Lelouch knows he's doing the wrong thing. He's just like, I don't care. And so I appreciate that with Light. And also, I think even though the Death Note, the book, the Shinigami book,
Mhm.
it's obviously it's broken in the verse, but I feel like Gias is even more broken, right? Because all I have to do is really look at you, right? So now I'm not gonna tell you that Light is an underdog at all, right? But
Right.
I do feel like the fact that he has to know your face, know your name, right? Obviously, it holds him up with L, right? Or else L would have been out of there. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I feel like there are some kind of like restraints on this character where he does have to keep reverting back to his wits. And Lelouch is supremely intelligent as well. I think with prep time, they're probably about even. I don't know. But before I turn it over to you, what I'm gonna say I like about Light
Yeah.
is I think Light is very good on his feet, and I don't think Lelouch is as good on his feet, right? And
Mhm.
there's no one in Code Geass to challenge
Okay.
Lelouch intellectually, such as L challenging Light, right? And I think that makes a big difference. So Team Light, quick react, like the thing with the bag of chips, right? And he's in there acting like he's studying eating chips. He's really killing people. You know what I'm saying? But like Suzaku, Kururuki, hand to hand, will destroy Lelouch. But
Right.
just like when it comes to intellect, he's just not formidable enough. Like Cornelia was a little smart, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes she kind of foiled his plans a little bit, But I think if we saw him with an adversary on the same intellectual level, maybe even superior, like how we saw L to Light, I
Mhm.
think then it would change people's perspective. Not saying that he's a bad character, but I think
Yeah,
this I think that the gap between him and the next in his verse is so vast that people probably think, okay, yeah, he's just way smarter than Light and better than Light. But I
got
disagree. I know I went on for a while, so I'm gonna give you your chance to make your case
it.
about
Yeah.
Lelouch.
I'm not gonna lie, those some definitely some great points, for sure. Just to kind of reiterate, like you said, they're very similar, right, to a degree, right? Their intelligence, they're both vastly intelligent. I would probably give the edge in terms of intelligence to Light Yagami, just based off of kind of what we've seen. Of course, when it comes to the Code Geass versus Death Note, I actually believe Death Note might be a bit more advantageous because you don't necessarily need to be within proximity of someone. Whereas Code
Mm,
Geass, you need to kind of get there. You got to be in front of them. You got to, in order. And then once you're there, it's GG's, right? But in terms of the Death Note, if I could just see your face in a photo or just and get your name, I could be on the other ends of the earth and kill you off or have you do something before you die, right? So I think the Death Note might be more advantageous to a degree. Just depends on your perspective. So, it's not necessarily like a no-brainer for either side. Each ability is fantastic in its own right. I would probably say, Light Yagami, he's not as much of a complex character compared to Lelouch. That's why I think I
mm,
give Lelouch the nod as the better written character. We've seen Lelouch is fighting for something outside of himself to a degree. Yeah, he may have moments of being selfish, but ultimately he's doing it for the sake of Japan. First, it starts with Nanali, starts with his
yeah.
sister,
Mm,
then it expands to Japan, right? And it ends up carrying over to his Zero Requiem plan, right? Where ultimately, of course, he's sacrificing himself for the greater good. Whereas, and fighting for the rebellion. Whereas with Light Yagami, he's ultimately fighting for tyranny, right? Iron Fist to dominate the world and get rid of all evil. But ultimately, he ends up becoming evil to defeat evil. And it gets to a point where he's just killing innocents, right?
mm,
Yes, it corrupts him over time, but at the end of the day, I think Light was just a straight shooter, which I respect, but he wasn't as complex. He may have had his father and his sister there to kind of keep him grounded to a degree. But outside of that, I think what helps carry, especially season one, tremendously is that dynamic between himself and L. Whereas
mm,
with Code Geass, I think who carries the show is clearly Lelouch. He's in more dynamic situations, right? Especially when we're talking about his brother Snigel, right? So I feel like Snigel was probably the person that kind of challenged him mentally and kind of put
mm,
him in certain binds. We also seen how Lelouch, how he comes back from losing. What does he do when he fails? He still continue onward, right? Through adversity, which shows character. So I think, and then the cards are kind of stacked against him to a degree in terms of how he was raised, what happened with his mom, his family, and then kind of fighting. So I feel like when you encompass all of that, the sadness he felt, especially with some of the people that he's lost along the way, I feel like we've seen more faces with Lelouch compared to Light Yagami. So I feel like he's more complex and better written. So I'm gonna go ahead, and that's the reason as to why I decide, Lelouch is the better written character.
yeah. Let me ask you this about Light, because I kind of forgot about this. I know you revisited it recently. The
Yeah,
the Shinigami,
for you.
it's always a tough word for me. Shinigami, right? They offer to Light that they could have like got rid of L early, or they didn't offer that and like he turned it down?
So essentially, Ryuk provided him the option to use the Shinigami eyes if he wanted to. Of
Okay.
course, shaving off his lifespan, right? But he
Right.
kind of put it. But Ryuk made it clear, and this is I think the dynamic between the two, which I kind of respect Light more on, because if you look at it, Lelouch has C2. C2 is more of his companion, kind of helping him out along the way, whereas Ryuk is just someone from the sidelines watching Light's every move, but not willing to help. And he makes that
Mhm.
abundantly clear in the beginning, where he's like, "I'm not here to help you. I'm not here to do. If you really want to, use the eyes, you can just see him and we can just kind of go from there." He even tells Light, when you die, I'm going to be the one to write your name in the notebook, right? So,
Right.
Yeah. Ryuka's not really there to help him or even
Yeah,
suggest
so
anything.
I was saying, the point I was trying to make is like this dude, if he, I feel like if he was so one dimensional, he could have kind of just folded in that moment to use the Shinigami eyes, right? But there's some like grit there, right? Some machismo. He's like, nah, listen, this is competition, and I step up to the face of competition. Like this guy's coming at me. Like to him, he was smarter, right? Whether that's what everyone thought or not. And he was willing to put that battle to the test, right? And yes, there were
Mhm,
some underhanded tactics, but I don't think he was like, yes, he thought he was a good guy. He was really a bad guy or
mhm.
anti-hero. But I don't think it was just as simple as, what, whatever, I'm gonna just cop out to win. I think there was a level of like respectful challenge there. You know what I'm saying? And I respect that from Light's character, right? Because to give us that dynamic, he had to hold his own too. It's not like El just carried that with his wits. You know what I'm saying? It was like great dynamic there. And it's like, even when El met his demise, I don't think Light wanted it to happen that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did, bro. I think he did.
Yeah.
I think Light. I get it because it's like he probably kind of felt some way, but like I think Light ultimately just had the goal of, hey, this is what I want to achieve. And then when it comes down to it, of course, the story is written in a way where sometimes you have main characters that don't achieve their goal, right? But at the end of the
Hmm.
series, Lelouch, right, achieves his goal, whereas with Light, he doesn't. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
I that's what I love about the series of Death Note, right? In comparison, but we're talking about like character wise. I think that also has to be measured as well. It's close to me, I just think just, and I think the issue also is how the stories are written or animated, I should say. I think Code Geass is given more time to flush out Lelouch's characters in so many different ways, whereas with Death Note,
Hmm.
comparison to the manga, I feel like season 2 shifts away from that, from Light's character and his development post L dying. You know what I mean? And I think
Yeah,
they
yeah.
kind of did him the service. And as a result, that's also why I'm kind of leaning towards Lelouch as well. So
Okay, okay. Good arguments there. Like I said, I'm like in the midst of season two, right? So I still want to finish it and then potentially, see if my mind changes when I get to the end of the series. But like right now I got Light. Definitely want to hear in the comment section who you guys got. Who's the better character? Is it Light? Is it Lelouch?
mhm.
Secondly, do you think either of them are smarter than L? You know what I'm saying? So do you guys think either of them are smarter than L? Drop your comments on your thoughts. Make sure you like and you subscribe. Much more videos coming soon.